Uh,
Welcome, you guys, to the Mom Talk vlog and Warriors Arrive vlog. Are you a mom with a successful business and feeling overwhelmed with the daily demands of life? Today, we are going to talk about how in the world do we stay on target as a business owner and as a busy mom. On this channel, we will share things in business, of faith, parenting tips, tricks, strengthen your identity, and into the things that God has called you to be. If you are a perfect mom, this channel is not for you, so just scooch on your way. But if you are a mom that owns a business and is trying so hard to be present and be the mom that you want to be, and also stay on target with your business as a mom, this channel is for you. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Um, welcome, you
what's
guys. And
up?
again, this is Jennifer and JoJo. I don't know if I said that, but
You did.
welcome.
Hey everybody, so good to see you all here. Excited to talk about this topic today because I think this is something that I think a lot of people struggle with.
All of us. I would say all of us. All of us struggle with this. And so I want to start first of all, like, what in the world are targets? Okay, because sometimes that's more of a business term. And so sometimes if you're new to business, you may not fully understand what this target terms mean. And I'll explain my version. And Jennifer, if you want to explain your version, if you guys are joining us for the first time, just so you guys know, we are both business owners and we both have 5 kids individually. Our husbands are friends, we're friends, and that's why we started
It
this
just
this
works.
adventure. Yeah. Because we like to merge business and parenting, right? Mom life, because it's not the same. If you are a mom and you own a business, like, people just don't understand it. And so that's why we created this channel. So first of all, targets. Okay. Targets I view as a simple term of they are kind of your goals, your business and your family goals, right? Now, business owners, we usually have our targets set for a specific amount of time. Like in 3 months is usually like it's usually like our thing, or our quarterly goals, right? So we have our business meetings every quarter. The first of the quarter, the end of the quarter, like, we're constantly having these meetings. And we have meetings in between, depending on how we want to do it. If you're in your business with your spouse, which is the way that I do mine and that Jennifer does a lot of hers, is that we have target meetings with our spouse, right? So whoever is in the business with you, you have those target meetings. If you're in it solo, you run your own target meetings, right? Or with your team. But it's so important that you, one, include the person to help you be accountable, even if it's not your team member, like if it's not your spouse, include someone in there to help you be accountable. But on top of that, it helps you see the vision, because a lot of us are visionary, right? I think Jennifer and I both talk about this. Like, our husbands are so visionary. Like, they are like, okay, we just need to do this, this, and this, and we're going to be there. But then some of us are more the action steps. So we're like, okay, so how many things does this equal? What is quantifying this thing to do the thing, right? And so bridging all of that together can sometimes look like a big mess. And it also can look like big failures. And I think that's one of the big things that I see a lot, is that when we are talking about our goals and our vision and just the things we want to accomplish, when that quarter ends, if we have not accomplished it to the thing that we said, like, we often feel like we failed. And I think it's important that we learn from that it's like, okay, we need to set good expectations in our targets. If your goal is to make $1 million in 3 months, you need to make sure you have those steps to make that $1 million in 3 months, right? Just saying it does not make it happen. And I think that's where one of the big things that we come into see a lot in our home, in our marriages, is that when we have that vision, we also need to have those steps. And so I don't know, Jennifer, do you want to touch
Yeah.
on that at all?
So yeah, I had wrote down some notes here before we started talking, and it's funny you mentioned that, like, what happens if we don't hit our targets and our goals. That
Mm-hmm.
was one of the things I wrote down. So yeah, to me, goals are the same thing. So let's get that cleared out here. You could call them
Yeah.
whatever. Some people call them targets, some people call them goals, some people call them sprints, right? Like, it's
Yes.
usually where we have one big goal. So we usually set like one big giant yearly goal. This is where we're headed for business, and this is where we're headed for family. And then quarterly, we set like mini goals, right? And then
Yes. Break
at
those
daily,
things
we're
up.
executing, right? Like the steps that you mentioned. So what happens if you don't hit the goal that you said that you wanted to hit within that quarter, right? So it's like, for me, like, I always keep this in mind. I have this saying, I don't know, I just, like, it like plays in my head. Like, it's okay if the vehicle changes, but the final destination never changed. Like, that's I don't
love
even
that.
know if I heard that in a event or a book I read.
Sounds motivational, probably did.
Listen, I don't want to take it and take kudos for myself on that. Whoever wrote that or said it first, you got it. I don't care. But I heard it somewhere. And it's like it always plays in the back of my mind because sometimes we're gonna smash the goals out the park, and sometimes we're gonna like barely make it there, and sometimes we're like, man, we felt like super behind. Like, what do we do? Right. So we never change the final destination. If we said that we were gonna do this XYZ thing, we could change the vehicle, how we do it, maybe some of the steps, maybe some of the people, like trying to like maneuver what we need to do within those quarters. So the big destination is that year, right? Like that big yearly
Yes.
goal never changes. But within those quarter plans, you might need to tweak some things because of what happened last quarter, right? So I think the most important thing when we're setting goals, whether it's family goals and family business, is analyzing the data from that. Like you had a quarterly goal, whether it was family or business, analyze the data. Okay, so what happened? What were the roadblocks? What went great? What went not so great? Do we need to renew this goal? Sometimes things carry over another quarter, and that sometimes happens in life and in business. Like life happens, right? Like you might
Yes.
get, I don't know. Like I've had situations where we plan something for a quarter and like one of us gets sick or something, right? Like something unexpected
Yes.
that we weren't planning in our quarter planning. We didn't say, oh, somebody's gonna get sick this month, like, and that just puts it behind a month. And I give another example, like the moving, right? Like I just moved to a new house.
Yes.
Moving puts you behind, okay? Like let me tell you, okay? So I had planned that I was gonna be a little bit behind on some things because I just know that that's how moving works, especially with a big family. But like we didn't like do what we said we were gonna do last month, like all the things because of time, right? Because things
Yes.
happen in the middle of the move, right? So I think it's really, setting the intention is the most important thing, right? Like your intention for the goals of the quarter, and then moving that direction as you're meeting with your spouse or you're meeting with your team, setting the intention and then writing down all the little steps that it takes to do that. Yeah, I'll pass the ball back to you because I know this is
I
your
think I love how you said intention. Like I love that you said intention because we're trying to be intentional. We're trying to be
yeah.
intentional business owners. We're trying to be intentional moms, right? And I think with that, sometimes it's really tiny change, little tiny changes that actually make the snowball effect. I think on our last video, if you want to go back and watch that, we talked about how each step in our business and in life, it was like you look back and you're like, oh, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
was hard, but that makes sense. And so when you're talking about intentional, like that's the purpose of these targets, is to help us to be more intentional and more focused in the direction we want to go. That's why we create goals, is to create the change we need to get to the destination that we want to be in. So with that, it can become very frustrating when you're looking at every quarter or every month or even every week, right? And you're just like, nothing is happening. But if you look super duper close, there's probably minimal change that's happening when you think there's nothing happening. Maybe it's going backwards, right? Maybe sometimes it is going backwards. Like you just were not motivated that month and it was a terrible month. But that little non-motivation equals motivation when you're like, I got to get going again. Like this isn't going to work again. I know that there's probably listeners that probably like put a stop in their business for a minute and you're wondering if you should go back into it. Like, don't question anymore. Say your prayers and get to work, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things is we question so much and we look at everybody else. And I think this really hit my husband and I when we were in the beginning of our stages. Like we got to know some really big names really early on, but we compared our steps to where they're at. And I don't think that's fair because and I love how Myron Golden says, you don't know Myron Golden, find him. He's amazing. I love how he talks about, we were in his mastermind and he would talk about a tree and how there was underneath the roots. And I think we talked about this on another one, but you can't see what's underneath the roots.
Yes.
That's where every business owner is starting and where they're at until you really see them in the big names. Like that's where you're at. So if you're in that spot, it's okay. Do not compare yourself to all those other people. Also, don't feel like you have to know those people in order to be someone. Because I think that's where Corey and I was in the beginning. Like we knew these big people by name, they knew us, all that stuff, but it didn't equal anything in our business, in our relationships. Some of them we stayed friends with, and others it was like, we now are probably washed away, right? And like, it's okay. You don't set your targets around them, you set your targets around you.
Yeah, like that bigger vision, right? So I think that being intentional with your planning makes sense. And I love the other point that you mentioned about accountability, and whether that's your spouse or your team, you need to have accountability so that it's just things move forward faster when you have accountability, right? Because if you're just dolo
Yes.
working it on your own, you take your time, like it's just, especially if you work remote, okay, like you have no like people around you, right? Every day. Like I work
Yes.
remote 24/7. So it's like if I don't have accountability, if I don't write stuff down, if I don't plan things, like it doesn't happen. Like it just doesn't
Yes.
happen. So I think that
Yes.
that is important, like being intentional about setting the time to meet, and then being intentional about your goals that you want to accomplish, and then breaking it down into those baby steps. And there is
Yes.
a difference between the visionary brain and the operator brain. We just literally were
Oh,
talking
totally.
before we jumped on this call. So I feel like I have a little bit of visionary brain because obviously, I see stuff and I'm like, I know we could do this. We could smash this out the park. But my brain, like I would say 80% of the time works more of an operator versus a visionary. And my husband is the opposite. So we complement each other, right? So if you don't have that in your relationship, like one person that's more visionary, the other person is more operator, it's okay to not have that, but find someone who is, because the operator is the minded person, is the person
Mhm.
that's going to help you execute, because you could have 500 million ideas, amazing ideas
Yes.
of things that could be life changing for people, right? Services, products, whatever it is that you do. But if you don't have the execution help, you could get there, but it's going to take you way longer. It's going to take you more energy, and in the process you could get burnt out. I've seen that,
Exactly.
like coaching business owners. I'm like, why do you've been running this business for 5 years and you don't have an executive assistant at least, like you need
Yes.
somebody to help you as you have this big vision and this and your quarter goals, whether it's for your family or for your business. You need somebody to help you in the little steps of how do we get there, right? So help is so important. In the beginning stages of entrepreneurship, you can't afford to hire an operator, hire teams and all of that. And that's another question that people ask me a lot, like who should I hire first, right? When I'm starting out my business. So as soon as you're making some money, and the first person that I always tell people you should hire is an executive assistant or a VA, a virtual assistant,
Yes.
like somebody that can help you with executing some of those little steps, right? So that you can continue to grow. And then later on, as you're able to afford people, you can either train one to become an operator or hire an operator, right? So I think in planning, setting the intentions, having the accountability and support is so important. And our family, we do that as well. Like Jose is obviously my accountability partner when we plan out things for family, and I'm his accountability partner when we plan out things for family. We also
Yeah.
meet once a quarter. We do our yearly planning for family. We meet once a quarter, and we actually meet every single morning to talk about our days, like our daily intentional time. Like, we say what we got planned today. What are the top 3 things that we got to do? Because we got all these things, right? I mean, my list is only
Yes.
50 things, and his is probably like 4 every day. But it's like, what's the top 3 things? Okay. And how can I help support you? And how can you help support me? And let's go do what we need to do for our kids, right? It's a lot of driving,
Yes.
running around. We feel like Uber drivers here with all these kids doing all the things. Okay. But if
Yes.
we don't meet to plan it out, I guarantee you, like the days that we run out the house and we don't like sit, have 15-20 minutes to meet, it's always an argument, because it's like, you didn't tell me, we didn't tell you, like miscommunication. And that just helps your relationship move faster. We've been doing that, I would say, probably for the last year. And I don't know how I did life with my husband without that type of planning.
Yes.
And we've been
Yes.
together 8 years.
Yeah. And I think too, you were saying something in there that I had a thought about. I'm trying to remember exactly what that
I'm
thought
sorry.
was.
I
It's
gotta
okay.
work.
It was perfect. It was beautiful. Oh, it was about blocks. So I think one of the big things is if you're noticing you're not doing something in the business, then there is a block. And so it's important to talk to your accountability partner or spouse or whatever about that block. If you're supposed to be making calls and you're not doing the calls, there's something deeper there. There's something deeper. It's not the calls. It's not the business. It's not the thing. It's something within that thing that is deeper. And so trying to help them eliminate that block is huge.
Yeah,
And it, It's
I'm
massive.
glad you mentioned that because the other thing I had here about I wrote like self-care and making sure that that is incorporated in everything that you do, whether you're a business owner or a mom. Like because like you said, if you're not doing something, if there's a roadblock in what you said you were going to do, it could be something deeper. You might need to talk to a therapist, you might need to go for a walk, you
Mm,
might need to go to the gym and kind of like, burn some energy, right? Like there, like self-care could be all those things. Self-care doesn't have to be,
yes.
go to a spa, even though that's amazing. I love getting massages, but it could be a walk, it could be talking to a therapist, it could be, calling a friend, going on a friend date, like
Yes.
like whenever there's a blockage, I'm always looking at those, like, what can I do to go get some self-care and then come back and like regroup and
Yes.
do what I need to do.
Yeah. And if you still can't do it and you're consistently not doing the thing, maybe you need to hire someone to do the thing.
Right.
Does that make sense? So it's like there's things that will block you in your business because maybe you're a visionary and you hate the operation part, right? I mean, that's a big deal, but it's like one of those things that it's like take those tasks off. If you don't enjoy them and they are terrible and you are blocked, take them off.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's a great topic today.
It's perfect. Okay, so guys, lesson learned. Do your targeting. Check your stuff. Get an accountability partner. Do
Be
the thing.
intentional. Be
Be
intentional.
intentional. Do the thing. All right, Jennifer, you got more you want to say? We're
No,
gonna keep
that's
this one kind
really
of short today.
Yeah, that was really good. I love this topic. Obviously, I'm a planner, so it's like anything that has to do with planning, executing, that's my jam.
Yes.
And out of everything we said, if you could grab one golden nugget from here, I would say is the intentional part because when you're intentional, like your energy flows that direction. If you say like this is my plan, this is my goal, this is like verbally say that, not just write it down. Like, Tony Robbins says that energy flow, right? And how what's he says, the energy flows where
Yeah.
energy goes. Energy goes where energy flows, right? So it's like if
Yes.
that's your intention, that's what you're saying to yourself, and this is what I want to do. As you execute, things will start like moving into play in your benefit, right? And God would do that. Like God says that He gives us the desires of our heart. So our intention is our desires of our heart, right? So as long as you're honoring God, He's gonna continue to like put the little pieces to help you as you execute those things. So I tied it all back into the Lord because without Him, we can't do anything.
Yep. I love it. Solid, solid, Jennifer. All right, ladies, you got this. Keep going. You're a great mom. Just keep going. You can do your business. Don't get frustrated. Don't watch all the haters. Just do your thing. Have a good one, guys.
See you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.